the tragedy involving U.S. Airman Roger Fortston. I apologize if I am mispronouncing his name. He was shot and killed by an Okaloosa County Sheriff's deputy, I think a day or two ago. I want to thank Ryan from the University Security and Training Solutions channel. He responded to one of my comments that I made earlier in the day, and he directed me to this event. I want to talk about this because there's something that is definitely wrong and that needs to change at the Okaloosa Sheriff's Department in Florida. Guys, this is home to the Acorn Deputy. This is where the Acorn Deputy works. I want to give you a little bit of brief rundown and discuss what actually happens in law enforcement and discuss the policies and procedures. And if you're working private security, you probably want to listen because you might be working residential security, and this is definitely applicable to you as well. So what we hear is possibly some type of domestic violence situation given by the RP, the reporting party, the deputy a wrong address. Deputy knocks on the door, announces themselves pretty clearly, knocks pretty hard on the door. Something to the effect, I think, is Sheriff's Department. Roger opens the door. He has his firearm parallel to his leg, and he is met with gunfire. He succumbs to his injury. It's really heartbreaking to hear. You can actually hear the airman communicate to the deputy. This is like just terrible. I want to thank that airman for his service, and I want to thank all of our service members for what they do. I really appreciate what they do. But guys, I mean, we need to have some changes here, in particular at that Sheriff's Department. Now, in California, if us as law enforcement officers, if we pulled something like this, a plan just like this, if you want to call it plan, we would feel the full brunt of the law, because the law has changed the last couple of years. You're required to formulate a plan, and there is a critical analysis that revolves around your plan of action. When I see one deputy knocking on a door on a possible domestic violence situation, it really questions me as to whether that Sheriff's Department adequately trains their deputies, and I would argue no, they don't. They absolutely do not train their deputies. I don't know of a whole lot of Sheriff's Departments and police departments that have one deputy or officer respond. I mean, there's some in my area. There's 2 that respond to domestic violence situations on their own, but you have a sheriff's office that services about a population like 200,000 people. With that sheriff's office, you could probably wait for another unit. Okay, so you wait for another unit, you form a plan. What if this happens? What if that happens? You might have somebody with lethal and less lethal, but you don't go there by yourself. Now, was that a result of the airman's death? Was the officer or deputy responding by himself a result of the death? No, as a result of the airman's death, I would argue. I don't know. I don't know what was being discussed. I don't know what the facts were clearly, but I am disappointed with the response. Now, on another note, if somebody gives you the wrong address, how do you react to something like that? So just imagine that you're the police officer, law enforcement officer, you're knocking on the door, and you think it's the right door, open it up with a gun to the side. I mean, from that position, somebody can bring it up really quick and nail you right on target. I completed the Alert Level 1 Train the Trainer course, 40-hour course that was brought on by Texas State University. And I had a similar situation just like that. And I told the person to drop the weapon. And right as I said drop the weapon, I got one Sims round right to my finger. I was holding my gun about right here, I would have got nailed right in the throat. So, you know, the question is, do you challenge it or you don't? And it's circumstantial. When I say challenge, you challenge them to drop the gun. Again, this is split seconds matter. If I'm pressed in a domestic violence situation and I have a situation like this, watching the body cam. Now, first off, I'm not going to show up with just me, but watching the body cam, I'm going to be pretty pressed to place a shot right in the center. I'm not saying that that's what I would do, but I would be pretty pressed to do so. Now, unfortunately, there's a mistake of fact. It's not a mistake of law. It's a mistake of fact. And the next question is, how much credibility do we give to reporting parties? This is just, it's an awful response, and it's not acceptable, guys. Okay. I guess the next response is verify, right? You want to verify what the RP is telling you. And they were pretty clear that it was a certain department number. I think something that maybe that law enforcement can do differently is the reporting party. Obviously, this is hindsight, not being at the scene, but maybe have the reporting party walk up the stairs and physically point out the address in question, the actual apartment unit. Hey, this is where I heard the noise. And I think that might give them more credibility. I think eventually this is going to lead to a lawsuit for sure. That sheriff's department is going to probably end up paying out. And I think the plaintiff's attorney is going to argue that law enforcement standards require police they require police to have the RP, the reporting party, physically point out the address, and they broke that standard. I think that's going to be the argument. Okay. I think in law enforcement in general, they're going to question, you know, whether to accept the information that's given by a reporting party as fact. Is it fact? Does it need to be verifiable? At what point in time is there an exigency? So now, if all of a sudden I'm spending more time verifying information, I'm losing seconds, I'm losing minutes. And in a domestic violence situation, it could rapidly unfold. Okay? So that's what I have to say about that incident, guys. You could be working private security. You could be having the loud party disturbance calls. As a private security officer in Orange County, when I worked in that area for Nordic Security, we responded to numerous loud party complaints. They didn't call the police, they called us. We knock on the door or loud noise. If you're a security officer, you knock on the door and you're met with somebody who's holding a gun like that, what are you going to do? What is your plan of action? And I think that this sheriff's department had a whole plan of action, and that's going to be scrutinized a lot. Let me go through the comments real quick. Professional Security Journals here. Slender 169-101. Hey, he's here. He said, "What's up, Sean?" He says, "Everything is circumstantial. One thing I've learned in my time in security, not law enforcement, is that there is no set answer to most situations. Problem solving is the key." Oh man, if I could pin that comment, I would. Actually, I don't know if it pinned. Yeah, it pinned. That's worth pinning for sure. Professional Security Journal says, actions and choices are made in milliseconds. Our choices are made from variables, all circumstantial. I want to pin that one too, but if I pin Mike, then I'm screwing over Slender 169-101. if there was a second pin, I'd definitely do that. But I just see that there's going to be some changes. There better be some changes, especially in that area. And then, you know, let's look at this from the airman's perspective. Okay, he's military. He has a firearm, just like Ryan says. I think Damien made a video about this one too, if I'm not mistaken. But Ryan from the University Security Solutions channel says that the airman had a Second Amendment right to bear arms, to be armed inside of his house. I'll tell you this, if you pound really hard on my door and I didn't do nothing wrong, um, and then I hear like yelling and commotion, I might not clearly hear that those noises are sheriff's department, police. Um, you may not know for sure like who's outside the door. Um, for me, early in the day, my son knocked on the door, and my adrenaline went up a little bit, and then my plan of action came. Oh, hey, somebody break through the door. Um, my firearms are over here. I was forming these little plans, and it was obviously him. But I didn't even move to where my stuff was at. But look at it from the airman's perspective. I mean, police knocking on the door hard, yelling something, and that's how he opened the door. Okay. I guess some people would argue, well, you shouldn't open the door with your gun like that. I mean, it is his house, and he has a right to defend his house. And that's the unfortunate circumstance, or unfortunate variable that law enforcement has to consider. Okay. Especially when they're at the wrong house. Are they going to sue the reporting party, the RP? Probably they'll name that person. But ultimately, it goes to the big pockets theory. That agency is going to pay. Slender 169-101 says, I want to tell you, Sean, I made it through the first half of my FTO for the new tribe, and I passed my 80-day evaluation test with 98%. Awesome. And Slender, he's been a very loyal subscriber over the last 1 or 2 years, and we appreciate his input. We appreciate everybody's input as well. All right, guys, take care. I want to hear your comments on this for sure.